The steps you have understood, right? But
Yes.
why those
Yes.
steps? What is the basis, mathematical basis behind those steps? Because it is not arbitrary. Someone has found it long back. This Hungarian, this person, right? But he must have done some calculations, some theoretical analysis of this method, right?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Who will be able to tell me?
Sir, I am no, sir.
You don't know. No.
Yes.
So who else will be able to tell me? Others who have gone through the algorithm?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, if you see the row, then there should be at least nine. Like the minimum value will be always incurred. Like because since one it will be assigned to one of the jobs will be assigned to A.
Mm.
So at least $9 will be incurred. So that's
Mm.
why that's why we remove it from the first row actually. Like we subtract the value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and similarly, one of the jobs, sorry, one of the A, B, or C say should be assigned to Mau, the first column. So the minimum value of the column will be incurred. So that's why the minimum value of the column is also subtracted from each element in the column.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that will be the minimum cost which will be at least incurred. And after that, if we see like we have this 000 in three separate columns and three separate rows, like which leads to feasible, then that will surely be the minimum solution. Because at least that much will be incurred, and we are finding a solution which incurs exactly that much money. So that's why we have an optimal solution. Like intuitively, I'm telling.
Mm. Right. So intuitively, your understanding is correct. That basically you are trying to assign the activity which incurs you the minimum cost, but you are trying to assign it individually on an individual basis. So you first consider for the person A that what is the best activity for person A, right? Huh. So you feel that okay, washing is the best activity. So you try to assign it. Similarly for B and C. Now you do activity based analysis. So for more activity, who is the best person to assign? Accordingly, you do the analysis and then you combine the analysis to find a feasible solution, right? Okay. So intuitively we can get the meaning of these steps. But mathematically, suppose you want to prove that using this method, you are bound to get an optimal solution. That means it is an exact method. It is not a heuristic method. It is an exact method. That means it guarantees optimal solution in the process. So mathematically, can you prove? So now you have to think of simplex from simplex perspective, and I mean from linear programming perspective, right? That what is the formulation of the linear program, and then what these algorithm does to that formulation or to the linear program, and how these revision in the tables or updates in the table help you to find the optimal solution. So this explanation is given here. Okay. Now, so I want you to first go through this slide and then I'll explain. And if someone already knows this explanation, please explain this slide. So this is an effort where you are trying to explain Hungarian algorithm using your LP formulation of the assignment problem. So how the updates, how these subtraction of the row elements and column elements change the table and help you in getting the optimal solution. Or how do you, because when you are subtracting the row element, minimum row element or minimum column element, essentially you are changing the table, right? Because this is not a matrix operation, right? You are not doing any matrix operation. This is not like matrix row operation or matrix column operation. This is simply subtraction by a constant quantity, that too from an individual row and column. So you have to prove that the resulting table that you are getting, after making these changes, is equivalent to the original table. I mean, the structure of the table doesn't change as far as this optimization problem is concerned. And this slide explains that why the updates in the table doesn't change it actually. Yes, someone is telling something.
Yes, sir. So when we add a constant, any constant value to a given row or any constant value to a given column, the in terms of the optimization problem, the table remains equivalent.
Right.
In the expression at the bottom of this slide, you can see we are actually calculating the cost function for the updated table, and we find that since for these summations j equal to 1 to n xij and I equal to 1 to n xij, both are actually 1 because of the constraint. Both have to be 1. So because of that, the value is actually the original cost minus the constant factor, a constant value. So the optimal assignment will not change.
Right. Yes, that is exactly the reason. Everybody has understood this explanation. So basically,
Yes,
basically this pi is that minimum row element for row I. Similarly, qj is the minimum column element for column j, right? So this c dash ij, if you are replacing it with this expression in the objective function, because summation xij is 1, right? So if you are using these two constraints here, so these expression becomes 1. This one is 1 and this one is also 1, right? So you are getting summation pi minus summation qj. So pi qj are anyway constant, so their summations will also be constant, right? So this part is a constant quantity, right? So which means, see, although the equation has changed, right? It has now a constant quantity, but being subtracted from the original objective function. But when you apply minimization on this function, it doesn't affect the optimal solution, right? So that is the idea. So essentially the idea is to reduce these elements of the table in a fashion that finally you will get a feasible assignment of zeros and your minimum value would be 0, right? As far as this entire equation is concerned, right? But then you have to go back to the original and find the replace the original Cij values and report the actual objective value. Okay, any question is there?
No, sir.
Okay, now in some cases what happens, now we are considering another case, of assignment problem, and where we'll see that we have to do some additional steps in order to find the optimal solution. Okay, now suppose this data is given to you, this first table, right? This data is given to you. And you have to find the optimal solution. So please, apply the steps of the Hungarian algorithm and see if you are getting a feasible assignment of zeros or not. First, you apply the Hungarian algorithm as it is and see if you are getting a feasible assignment of zeros or not.
No, we won't get.
So what is the table you are getting?
The second one in the slide.
Second one. Are you getting the second one? Everyone? Everyone has got the second one? Let's see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now what to do? Because now when if you see the row minimum and column minimum for all rows and columns are all 0. So now Hungarian, he came up with some additional steps in order to tackle this kind of situation, right? And behind this step, again, the mathematical explanation is there, and that is actually more complex. So if you're interested to read, you can read it from the textbooks, but it's very complex. It is based on duality and the dual simplex explanations. Okay, so we will not go into those details, but we'll just explain the steps. But I think you have already gone through it. So can someone explain what we are doing here, how to handle this situation?
We have to find the like using minimum number of horizontal and vertical lines. We have to cover the zeros in the matrix.
Right. Then
In the remaining elements which are not covered, we have to take the minimum element and subtract it from the other elements which are not covered,
right.
and we have to add that element to any element which is covered by both vertical and horizontal line.
Right.
And then repeat the then we have to check whether we get feasibility or not, and then repeat the same process.
Right. So can you do it and see what is happening? So you are getting these horizontal and vertical lines, right? And you see all zeros are covered. So, and then minimum element is 1, which is circled here. So you subtract it from the uncovered elements and then add it to the intersection of the lines, as you have said, right? Intersection of the vertical and horizontal lines. Wherever you see intersection, you have to add this minimum element to that. So this 2 becomes actually 3, right? So you get a new table with these modifications. What is the new table? This one, right?
Yes, sir.
So here do you find a feasible solution?
Yes, sir.
Right. So these are marked. So essentially for that data, so now this is the optimal assignment, and you can calculate the minimum cost also, the objective value also, right? So now, so you see that for the simplest case, you just apply the Hungarian algorithm as it is and you will get the optimal solution. But in certain more complicated cases like this, where you do not get, then you have to apply these additional steps, which is this drawing vertical and horizontal lines, covering all zeros, choosing the minimum element from the uncovered elements, subtracting it from the uncovered elements, adding it to the intersection of the lines, and then again trying to find. If you do not find a feasible assignment even at this step, then again you have to repeat that process, drawing vertical and horizontal lines, and again do the same thing. You keep doing till you get a feasible assignment of zeros, right? Any question? So now you know what is Hungarian algorithm and how to apply it, right? Good. Everybody is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now today I won't extend much. From the next week onwards, we'll move to some different topics. So far we have seen these discrete optimization problems, right? Linear programming, and then integer programming, the different methods of solving linear programs and integer programs and their applications, different modeling issues, right? Um, so now we will move to a different topic, which is more toward stochastic optimization, um, which includes Markov chain, queuing theory, right, and things like that. And before that, we'll also cover some network flow formulations and algorithms. How many of you are aware of the network flow formulations and algorithms? Those from computer science background might have already studied it. May Max Flow min cut theorem,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dijkstra, and all those things.
Yes, sir.
You are aware, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So we anyway, but for other departments they might not be aware, so we have to cover briefly, and then you can also explain those algorithms. I'll give you the chance, to explain to your friends about those algorithms and models. Okay. Now, before finishing it off, I just have one question, which is, now we have seen this assignment problem and how to solve it. Suppose I want you to solve TSP, the traveling salesman problem, using these concepts of Hungarian algorithm or the assignment problem. Then how would you be able to how would you approach it? Because TSP, if you look at the TSP, traveling salesman problem, what is it? It is actually a variant of assignment problem, right? Because you see the first two constants of the TSP are of assignment type. Only the third constraint, which is subtour elimination constraint, is creating the problem there. If this third constraint were absent, then TSP could have been solved by Hungarian method only, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right or wrong?
Yes,
So
sir.
suppose I want you to solve TSP using this concepts of assignment problem and Hungarian algorithm, then how do you approach?
So we can take all nodes as suppliers as well as all nodes as assignees and as well as tasks, and the cost will be the cost from say going from I to J.
Mm-hmm.
And if we then apply assignment problem, say it assigns some node I to node J, that means in the path we go from node I to node J, and so on.
Right. Just 1 minute. I'll just try to give you an example. Just 1 minute. I'll try to give you an example. Say, say I have 5 nodes. Okay. This is the source, and then these are the different nodes. Sorry. Okay. Now you have the distance matrix, Dij matrix among all these, right? Node 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, right? Okay, and you have the Dij matrix. Suppose I want to solve this TSP using Hungarian method. So first, if I just forget about the subtour elimination constraint and apply the Hungarian method to solve this, that means you have the source to S 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here also S 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then you see here S to S, it is because the self looping is prohibited, right? So you can put it some very big number, you can put here, or infinity, right? Similarly 1 to 1, 2 to 2, right, 3 to 3, and 4 to 4. So it prohibits the self looping, right? Now all the Dij other numerical values you put here in all the so this becomes a matrix, right? And if you apply Hungarian algorithm on it, you will get some 1-to-1 assignment, right? You may get. And then if you see that, suppose it gives you the route like this, S to 1, and then 1 to 4, and then 4 back to. Similarly, if it gives us 3 to 2, and then 2 to 3. Suppose you get this type of subtours after directly applying Hungarian algorithm to it, which is an infeasible solution, right? So you can treat it as the linear relaxation of the original problem and can use it as an upper bound, right? Now you are relating it to the branch and boundary. So in the branch and boundary in the root node, there was the LP relaxed problem. You can treat this problem as the LP relaxed problem, that because you have not considered one constraint, right? So whatever solution it is giving, you can treat it as an so here it is minimization objective. So will it be upper bound or lower bound?
Lower bound.
Lower bound, right? So you can treat it as a lower bound of the problem. Now the next question is that how do branch? Because it's infeasible, na? So it is equivalent to a fractional solution for an integer program. So how do branch? There you were branching on the fractional variable. Here, what will you choose?
We can set one of the looping edges to infinity.
Right. So how to set that value, right? The Dij value you make infinity. That means suppose you choose this subtour, right? And in this subtour you make say you want to make say x14 is 0. That means it cannot travel from 1 to 4. If you put this constraint, right? So automatically this subtour will not be formed. Fine. How to force x14 to 0? You simply make d14 to a very big number, right? In this matrix. So automatically x14 will be 0, and then you can avoid this subtour s14, right? So this is how you branch. So you basically branch on, you have branched on x14 variable by setting D14 to infinity. So this is the branching concept here. And in this way, you have avoided this subtour. So although you have not explicitly written subtour elimination constraints, but one by one, you are eliminating the subtours in this way by doing branching. Now this subtour has been eliminated, but the other subtour has not, and it may actually, if you resolve this problem with this new value D14 is infinity, you may get another subtour. Maybe this subtour will not be there, but you may get another subtour. Is that possible or not? That is quite possible, right? You may get another, so which again will give you an infeasible solution. So again, you have to branch. You have to find some edge of that subtour and make it infinity, so that the traveling salesman doesn't travel through that. So that subtour. So in this way, so many subtours, exponential number of subtours are possible, and your branch and boundary would get so large, right? That for large TSPs, it will be virtually impossible, to converge, right? But for small TSPs, you can still solve by this approach. So here what you are doing in the branch and bound tree, at every node, you are solving the problem using Hungarian method instead of applying simplex. So earlier in the branch and bound method, you were applying simplex to solve the LP, right? Here, because it has some nice structure of assignment problem, you are using Hungarian method directly, not simplex. Easier and quicker Hungarian method, right? Simplex actually takes a lot of time, may take a lot of time. So this is one way you can approach TSP using the branch and bound tree, right? So I'll give you an assignment along with this integer programming as where this type of problem would be there. So some TSP instance will be given to you, and then you'll be asked to solve the TSP using branch and bound method. So here the branch and bound, you are applying it differently. Basically, instead of applying simplex and getting to the fractional and all those things, you are utilizing the assignment type of a structure in the problem and then eliminating the subtours at each node level. Understood or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today I am ending here.